also an internationally syndicated TV show on Pursuit Channel and Wild TV. You are now tuned into our weekly podcast hosted by executive producer Kyle Green, production coordinator Jeff Hutchinson, director AJ Beadle, and creative producer Ryan Parks. We live in a world where our natural resources are almost solely protected by funds raised by hunters and fishermen, with over 60% of those funds coming from white males over the age of 55. The Greenway Outdoors team has set out on a mission to create content that would inspire millennials, Generation Z, and new sportsmen and women to get out, hunt, fish, and contribute towards conservation and the betterment of our planet. Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors. Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the Greenway Outdoors podcast. I am Kyle.
I am Jeff.
I'm AJ.
I am Ryan.
Are you guys making fun of me because of the way I say it?
Yeah.
That's how I like to do the intro.
That's a good one.
No, if you guys think you can do better, get your own podcast.
And she's like, I was not. You signed the checks.
I signed the checks. Yeah, AJ's the only one that didn't mimic me. He gets 2 checks. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll take it.
So, this was a funny video. Kid's a liar. I'm going to start with that. But
Kids lie.
But one of my favorite things, and sometimes we post them on Instagram and Facebook, is little kids that watch our show and then, take a picture with their little thumbs up in front of the TV and stuff like that and send it in to us. We get a couple of those here and there. It's super cool. Now, this is a friend of the family. Her name's Little Alicia. So it's similar to Elisa, but Alicia. And sweet, sweet girl. Pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But she happened to, we were all up north, and then she came in the room and everyone was watching the bear episode. Oh. And I have my own theory on how she arrived at these lies, but her mom was in the car and she's like, "Mom, I gotta tell you a story that's so disgusting." And her
disgusting.
Yeah. And she goes, "What's the story?" And then her mom Katie had the wherewithal to start recording. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna go ahead and roll that video now with sound so you guys can hear it.
Kid's
and
liar.
See it. Yep.
Tell me.
Looks good.
They got a bear and they ate his tongue, the bear's tongue.
What?
And
Ew.
yeah, I told you this is gonna be so disgusting. And
Wow.
they ate his poop.
Who did?
I don't know his name, but I thought it was on Kyle Green computer.
Was that Kyle Green's computer? Ew, they were eating bear tongue?
Yeah, and his poop.
Gross.
I know, it's so disgusting.
Listen.
That Kyle Green, he's so funny.
Watch this.
I don't really do that stuff, right?
What?
Eat bear's poop. I don't really do that.
Last time
She was last time I checked. So here's my theory.
Yeah, I'm curious.
If you watch the bear episode, first of all, she's adorable. But if you watch the bear episode,
Liar.
Yeah, she's lies though. But if you watch the bear episode, you'll see that she came in the room and no one explained to her what was going on. It was just that I was on TV, and I think she had trouble even quite picking up how that would be. I'm looking at you right here. I'm looking at you right here, weirdo. Obviously, that's not you. But she was watching it, and she's, we get the bear, and she sees its tongue hanging out, and she saw the part where we were stepping in the poop because that's how we found the area to hunt.
Yep.
So I stepped in the poop in the show. She saw the bear tongue hanging out of its mouth, and then we're doing a cooking segment where we're eating it. And if you blur that all together real fast in a 4-year-old's brain, we ate bear poop.
I guess.
And tongue.
But,
And tongue.
And tongue.
The tongue one's even more confusing because...
I think because she saw the tongue and then we were cooking it right after.
Okay.
Unless you saw the deer episode also, where we
Ate tongue?
I
don't think
guess.
we watched the deer episode, but the one thing we can be sure of is we're so disgusting.
We're so disgusting.
And you have that on your pewter?
Pewter, disgusting. I hope she figures that one out.
Yeah, I ran it by her this weekend too. I was like, hey, I don't appreciate you.
Yeah,
putting
once you
what's
get
this
your
out?
thing straight, kid.
Yeah, me and you outside.
Where was this at?
It was up north.
Whose kid is that?
Well, I guess if we're breaking it down, it's Elisa's cousin's child. So it would be like Elisa's little Ashley, basically.
Oh, okay.
If you were to drive the family thing down.
Yeah. No,
so
I'm just wondering where.
That's Elisa's cousin, John's wife,
Now I'm
recording
confused.
the daughter.
Yeah.
That family loves
Anyways,
it.
it's a kid. She lies. She
I
calls
don't know.
us disgusting.
You're the one who
and
wanted
we eat poop.
You're the one who
Pewter.
wanted the family tree.
Pewter.
I don't know why. It's like just leave. It's so disgusting.
It's
leave
just
it at
a
that.
kid.
That
Yeah.
family really likes weird variations of that name.
Oh, I know. I think because Elise is close with John, and then that's how. I think we.
This
can
is what people want to know.
Yeah. I'm
Yes.
sure our podcast listeners really
They all
appreciate
asked.
understanding the names of people that no one knows. But anyhow, it was adorable. And then I was talking to her about it. And then this weekend I was like, I had said to her at the time, because she said so disgusting, that I was like, well, you eat chicken, and that's a bird, and you eat this and you eat that. And then she's like, that's why she's like double checking with her mom. She's like, he's full of it, right?
I don't do that.
I'm not out here eating poop. I
I don't
don't.
think I eat.
You could tell that she was doubting it though, or she was
There was
like,
some doubt in that
I've never
interface.
specifically ordered poop. I don't,
That's great.
I don't think I did, but it's actually fun. Like when you look at it though, on a deeper level, you get to the point where like kids have no idea where their food comes from, and that's the reality. She's not the only one, and
a good point.
it's because they're so separated from it. So they literally, I was having a conversation with her this weekend, and I was like, "You like chicken nuggets, right?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Then you like chicken?" She goes, "No, I just like chicken nuggets. I wouldn't eat a chicken." She's like, "Psychopath."
Oh yeah. Monster.
And her mom's like, "Yeah, we haven't bridged that gap
we,
yet."
we haven't done those things yet.
Yeah.
nuggets are made of what?
Do you really want to see?
The thing is, when you get right down to it, that like there is a huge separation of like even adults knowing where their food comes from, where it's like they're so against hunting, they're so against fishing, they're so against this, they're so against that, but then they're consuming it. It's even like, well, I'm a vegetarian, but I eat Jell-O. Well, then you eat animal bones. Like Jell-O's made out of animal bones.
Collagen, the
Yeah.
stuff in joints, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like there's so many things. And in a funnier note too, so she was hanging out at the cabin, and they're redoing another cabin. It was like a big party with a bunch of adults. But Alicia was there, and she was roping me into all kinds of games and stuff like that.
That always happens to you.
I know, I'm always with the kids. But
Have you guys seen real estate prices in the Upper East Side? Oh my God, they're so disgusting.
I think I use Upper East Side.
Having a conversation with adults.
so we were playing games. She goes, "I'm really hungry," and I was like, "Oh, what do you want to eat?" She goes, "I can't have gluten." She was fully aware that she can't have gluten. I'm like,
What is gluten? It's a bad thing. Calorie, that's a gluten. Milk, that's a gluten. Fried food?
So I went to the fridge and I'm looking at it. And she's like, "I'm really hungry." I was like, "Well, do you want?" "Oh, there's fruit."
Where's your parents?
Yeah. I go, "Do you want fruit?" And she goes, "No, I had a bunch of fruit today." I was like, I don't know what
I'm
else in
running out
here
of
is not a
things on
clue.
the
I go,
list.
"Someone help me." So then I'm like roping together a bunch of wasted people to explain to me what a gluten is. I'm like looking on my phone and stuff like
Tell
that.
how much she actually knows. Go, isn't there gluten in fruit? Watch her go. Well, is there? Oh my God.
So I just distracted her with games until her mom came and got her, and then
Like food, nothing.
I assume she got food eventually. She's still around. She's still kicking. So, but people don't know where their food comes from. They do not know, and we have such a separation from it that. We talked about it on the one podcast. Something that bothers me is like, where do you draw the line? So people are like, "Well, I'm vegetarian. I only eat plants." Plants are a living animal. Well, they don't have feelings.
Well, not living animal.
Well, can you tell me that?
Being.
Yeah, living being. That's a good point. It's not an animal. Definitely not an animal. But they're like, well, it's alive. So, they're like, well, it can't move. It's like, have you ever seen a time-lapse video of a plant following the sun throughout the day?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they can move. Okay, well, they don't breathe. They do.
That's
They
not
just
true.
reverse breathe. They reverse breathe to how
They
we
make
do.
it possible for you to breathe. Okay? So,
The lungs of America are on fire. Come on. I'm just kidding. Making it the Amazon joke is not funny. But
Funny.
didn't realize the Amazon was in America.
did South or Central?
South.
South, yeah. Either way,
Central America is still in North America, just so you know.
is it considered
Is
North
it?
America?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
it is.
Central America is just like a region. It's not a continent.
Look at you, Rye. It's because
Outsmarting us all.
his family goes to Costa Rica. Must be nice. Anyhow, so people not knowing where the food comes from. And on top of that, it's like, well, where do you draw the line? Why do you draw the line at plants? Because they are alive, 100%. They're like, well, then they don't have feelings. I don't think those crayfish had feelings that we ate. who say they did, but I couldn't tell. You know what I mean? I couldn't tell any more than a plant would, right?
That's a good point.
So, why draw the line there? No matter what, everything on this planet consumes energy in order to stay alive. And you consume energy from living things, whether it's plants, animals, anything else. But beyond that, this brings me to our next story, which is the fact that California has banned fur trapping. Okay? And it's the scariest part about this was they just released a article about it, and it was titled, California is the first state to ban fur trapping. First state. So the media and the way they think is that,
there's more coming.
Finally, there's a humanitarian effort's been done in California. Now we're moving on to the others.
No muskrat trapping then?
No.
Nothing.
If they're out there.
The big trapping that's out there is beavers. And a lot of the beaver stuff is done for nuisance reasons. So remember when we went to the farm and we were with Ray from Hot Shot Outfitters and we had to get rid of those beavers that were ruining that guy's farm?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they'd actually hire people to come out and do the fur trapping. That's no longer allowed. So a farmer has to suffer the consequences. And now the beavers get to decide how all waterways will flow from here on out in California. It's their decision because we can no longer nuisance trap there.
Is there there's got to be a loophole?
Nope, no loophole.
Well, that's what I was going to ask is what if you're not trapping, you just go out there straight up hunting them?
I don't know that answer.
Because, that could be the loophole.
Are you able to hunt beavers? I don't know that answer. I feel like you can't.
Only if you're getting the fur?
No.
You have to trap them.
I don't know that there's a hunting season, and if there is, I think it's separate. Can you look that up, Ryan? Is there a hunting season for beaver that is not trapping in Michigan?
I don't think that it's for trapping. I think it's more for fur bearing, but I'm not sure if you.
Well, that's the other thing. They're banning the sale of fur from there, and the way they word it is. I want to say resident species, natural species. What's the word I'm looking for? Where it's species that are there naturally.
Native.
Native, thank you. They're native species. So it's the gray fox, the beaver, coyote. Now I got another question. What are they going to do, those little idiots, when the coyotes if you don't do any coyote trapping, and I don't know if you can still coyote hunt, I would assume not. I don't know if they're stopping trapping. I don't know if you can't hunt anymore. Can you imagine the population booms on coyotes? Can you imagine? And what are they going to do about it? And then the coyotes kill all these other species. It's like, okay, by protecting just the coyotes, you've just written a death warrant for all rabbits, all hares, all shrews, all the things
like
that
the python
did.
Everglades
Squirrels
will come in and just decimate everything.
Yeah, don't kill the poor snakes.
Did they? Is there a reason why they? What's the part of the movement to?
They're
ban
puppies.
PETA.
Ban the firm.
PETA. It's a cruelty to animals driven. Now here's the other side to it though. To be fair, and this was kind of sad, there was only 4 distribution licenses sold in California last year. That's to sell to markets for fur. And there was only 133 licenses sold for trapping last year in the
California?
in the whole state.
Wow,
that's nothing.
The entire state?
Yeah,
even like the northern side?
Even like the northern side.
That's like the mecca.
Disgusting.
That's so disgusting. So
It's on the pewter.
I saw it on my pooter. The problem is pewter. Completely different.
Pewter. Be clear.
Short article. Got it in there. Okay, so that was good. The point is, the funds raised were not enough to cover the cost of managing the fur-bearing management from the Department of Natural Resources there, meaning they didn't even sell enough licenses to cover the costs, so it's having to be subsidized by taxes.
Maybe that's the first wave of
So that's
hopefully not the beginning of less licenses being sold.
Well, the whole problem is because there were so few licenses sold, that was where they got their crutch, because that's why it was voted like 39-19 or something like that. It passed handily, and I think the reason why is because it was fiscally irresponsible to continue it. But the Farmers Association and everything was major against it, because the farmers are upset because now the beavers and the coyotes and those things and the foxes that kill their chickens, kill their cows, take their eggs, are a pest. Beavers putting
Destroy the land.
You know,
That's a
destroying. They can still go after groundhogs, shrews, moles, things like that, but they're not allowed to trap these other things. And then
That's interesting.
And there's no selling of the fur anymore. It normally went to foreign markets, and that's gone as well now too in the state.
Wow.
And they're bragging about it like it's like the greatest thing ever, obviously. And it's very important for people to know. We had a conversation about fur trapping here, where we were like not in love with it.
Oh yeah, I don't like it.
There was a discussion.
Yeah, there was.
I don't really like it that much. Like with muskrat, the underwater traps, because I don't like the idea of it just sitting there drowning.
You're talking about he's talking about the colony traps. So
Colony, I don't like the colony traps. The other traps.
Describe a colony trap so they
It's
know.
just like if you're trying to trap a raccoon on land, it's like that, where it can walk in from either sides, and then there's a trigger in the middle. When it steps on it or swims through it, it will close the gates on each side. And typically you set those underwater in the stream or river or whatever, and
on the trail that they normally take.
Yeah, you can see the trail that they take underwater. I don't like that, but I like the...
Because what kills them is drowning.
Yes, because what kills them is drowning. But what was the other one called?
Conibear. Conibear?
Conibear.
Yeah. I'm better with those because that's quicker. It's just like a rat
Breaks
trap.
its neck.
So essentially that is
like a mouse trap.
a giant mouse trap that kills
Double-sided.
that kills them instantly.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
A lot faster than the colony
Quick.
trap.
Yes.
Quick nonetheless.
Yes, quicker. But either of those two options, I'd rather just take it out with a gun or a club or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can't deny. So I completely understand where you're coming from.
It has its purpose still, though, because I mean, the muskrats were doing incredible damage to those fields out there.
Right.
So
And you have to look at effective placement. I mean, you're going to get more with those traps. What do we get? 100 in a day, muskrats?
I think it was more than that.
106
No,
or
just
something.
in a weekend we got 110 or something like that.
yeah,
Okay, I was way off.
Well, yeah. The first day was the best day, and we got 56.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And we got like 50 the next day. So the point is very effective, though. We would have never gotten that if we were out there trying to sharpshoot them.
yeah, no way.
Ever. Because you only see them rarely.
Yeah, you don't. Very
They're out
quick.
a lot more at night, I believe.
Yeah, so even so. So in order to effectively remove pests or even effectively harvest last year's surplus, so the big idea of hunting is, right? So there's always going to be new babies made every year. New muskrats, new coyotes, new deer, new wolves.
Circle of life.
Circle of life. There's going to be new babies. But there's not going to be more habitat. And there's not going to be more food. So what we do as hunters from a conservation standpoint is we take out a percentage of those animals so that the new fawns, the new species of that year, the new babies, can grow up and have a place in the environment. Otherwise, if we didn't, there wouldn't be enough room. And when we don't, catastrophe happens, and that's that's happened with boom and bust of goose populations are the number one example.
It's like the axis deer in Hawaii, where
there's no predators.
So they just
20 to 30%
Populate.
a year. Now they're having now they have to kill them in an inhumane way with helicopters because
the
there's
boar
so
way?
many of them that
they're
they have
destroying
to.
farmland. They're
Yeah, what was it, like 10 years ago? Someone would be like, "Oh, you can come hunt on my land for like $5,000 and kill a deer." Now it's, "I'll pay you to come to my land and kill these deer."
Right, and when you're not harvesting the surplus of the renewable resource that is the wildlife that we have in California or anywhere else, then you're not making room for the new babies that are going to come in, and you're creating starvation. You're creating the decimation of species that they feed on. So the coyotes surplus, the fox surplus, you're creating a catastrophe for prey animals. So now you're wiping them out because you're irresponsible on these ones.
sure.
There's too many people in the United States of America. We're too spread out. There's too little habitat, and we have to maintain the habitat with a hands-on approach. We've given over the keys. We've given over the possibility of these things happening on their own. We already screwed it up. There's too.
We're the ones pushing in the other direction. We're the ones taking up more land. We're the ones that are doing all these things. So it's our responsibility as humans and being the ones that are having this negative impact on the habitat to then go in and
balance it.
Balance it, whether that's through population control, buying up other land to help to recreate habitat if possible. But I mean, at the rate that we're taking land to make new buildings and stuff, we'll never keep up trying to buy land to then use as habitat. You'll never get a 50-50 split.
Nope.
No.
This land's for habitat. This land's for our habitat.
I think in America we tend, if I'm hearing you right, I think there's plenty of land. Because if you ever fly in a plane and you're flying from East Coast to West Coast, you just nothing. Occasionally you'll pass over a city, but there's so much space. But that doesn't mean that there's going to be an imbalance in some cases. And I do think when the government took over, and started the DNR and everything, in most cases, they tend to do a pretty good job of finding that proper balance. Of course, we've had mistakes.
Through science.
Yes. And the way they can fix these problems is through hunters.
Right.
And when people participate, it tends to go pretty well.
When you buy a hunting or fishing license, those dollars go towards conservation. When you join a conservation organization, those dollars go through conservation. And then the science is based around the idea of the DNR is that they look at, okay, here's the species, here's the numbers, here's the surplus, here's what we have to harvest in order for there to be room for those fawns. There's more deer in the United States of America right now than ever in recorded history. When we came here, and there was no civilization other than the Native Americans, then 100% you have to understand that the deer populations were not as high as they are now. And there's far less habitat. It's because it's well managed. Mm-hmm. Now, if you take away if you start making the DNR fight with one hand behind their back, and you take away their science-based algorithms and hunting privileges and conservation efforts in order to sustain species and how they interact with each other, and you start making them fight with one hand behind their back, you're going to have what California is going to see in a few years.
Yeah. So this is not going to go well for them.
The problem is they make those decisions based on
emotion.
They don't, they don't realize that you make a decision like that. You've already got this group of people in California. I think it's the Department of Wildlife and Fishery. I don't know if they have it.
I think that is it. Yeah, that sounds right.
But they have, they go through and do all this science to figure out all these things. You take away their ability to do that, and it'll have consequences beyond just there'll be more of those. I don't remember where it was, but they decided they didn't want wolves, so they got rid of the wolves, and then the deer population boomed so greatly that it had there was something to do with it changed the water
Yellowstone.
flow.
You're talking about Yellowstone. So, the idea is deer were in areas, and there were so many of them just wiping out the food sources, the grasses and things like that, because there's so many.
That's what it was.
So then they put wolves in, and then the wolves moved them and scattered them so that the grasses were able to grow, which changed the way the landscape was, which ended up actually moving the way the river moved because there was different herds moving in different areas and things like that. So it was like by introducing wolves, it actually changed the landscape.
There's so many trickle-down things that you can't even really guess are going to happen.
To be fair, they introduced wolves because they don't allow hunting there. So they introduced wolves in order to try and accomplish what hunters do, but then the wolves populate so fast, and then they
have fun.
Then they hurt the numbers, and then it goes too much of a swing. And as much as we do a pretty good job of balancing this stuff through hunting, it's often learned through mistakes, and it's the long-term effects of how we've managed to go from a terrible, terrible, terrible situation in the early 1900s where almost all species were just wiped out to the fact of having such a stable position now. It took that 120 years to get there because we had a lot of learning to do, and we still make dumb decisions, and that's why we have things like different like the QDMA, quality deer management. We still have organizations like that are like really pushing the science to help the DNR and also help landowners and private landowners do things properly so that we can help protect the species further. It's like the old mentality of never shoot a doe. I was taught that as a kid. Like when we go up to deer camp at Pete's, nobody shot does. And me as a kid, I was like the only kid up there. I was like, well, I want to shoot a doe. I want to get a deer.
Like a deer.
Like, I know. Like I don't care what it is. And it was like I remember getting a text from my dad, and he's like, there's a reason why we don't shoot does and blah, 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 blah. And the idea behind it was if you shoot does, there's going to be less deer. And there was a time where that was implemented, and that would have been during my dad's time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So
That's what he was taught.
my grandfather was taught that for good reason, because at that time there were so few deer that they needed to bring the populations back, so don't shoot does because that makes practical sense.
Yes.
So then the mentality of if you want more deer, then don't shoot does carried over, but it carried over all the way until we had too many deer. And then if you're still not shooting does, you create a terrible buck to doe ratio, which we've been experiencing here in Michigan, where instead of 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 or 2-to-1, whatever it might be, we're experiencing 1-to-20 or 1-to-25 or 1-to-50 in some cases. 1 buck to every 20 to 50 does.
Good for that buck.
Maybe, and that's the real issue. Is so the whole point of all of this, and then Ryan, you got a point to make. The whole point to all this is it takes hunting and fishing and trapping as a tool to raise funds, which wasn't being done effectively. So shame on the California people for not getting out their conibear traps.
Yeah.
But it takes those tools for the DNR or the similar organization in whatever state to regulate different species, and taking away opportunity to kill foxes and coyotes and sell the fur because you think that they're sweet animals and they're pretty. Well, you tell the rabbits that you just wrote the death sentence of extinction of species for.
Yeah.
You tell the farmers whose land you just decimated and ruined their entire livelihood because the beavers are going to dam up things and flood their fields or take away all the water from them.
There's a lot of waterways in California.
Yeah, you tell the deer populations, you'd think they would have learned when they banned cougar hunting in California, then they start having bad cougar encounters with people, and then people are getting ate while running, so then they hire and spend thousands of dollars to hire sharpshooters to come in and shoot them, when you could have just had a season for them, had hunters hunt them, sold the tags, made a profit, and used those dollars to protect the species for long-term using conservation efforts.
And you'd make money.
You've learned.
You think would be the point.
You've learned nothing, yeah? Ryan, what were you going to say?
We were just talking about wolves and their population return, and I spent the last weekend up in the UP, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
How long was the drive?
Well, I originally went to Marquette to see some friends at the university up there, and I think that took me about 7 hours.
Ooh, friends?
Yeah. So,
What?
I missed you guys.
Lots of friends.
7 hours, that's how long it took us to get to West Virginia. Isn't that so weird?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Same state.
And so I spent a few days there, and then my dad and Isaac also came up, but they didn't go to Marquette. They stayed farther south, closer to the bridge, and they went to a place called Gould City, which isn't really a city. It's got like 3 houses and a gas station, I think, and that's about it.
Do they have pizza at the gas station?
I have no clue.
It
They normally do.
identifies as a city, okay.
I didn't want to go inside.
It identifies. Don't get so California on me over there.
But we were looking for spots to go trout fishing and salmon fishing and when the run's on and all that, and so we were just kind of scouting the area, riding the dirt bikes around, looking for hidden rivers.
There's a lot of trout streams out there.
Yeah. And there was some good spots, but these guys we came up on while we were looking at a spot. They pulled up in their truck and got out, and we were talking and stuff. And then one of the guys says,
Are you Ryan Parks from the Greenway Outdoors?
Yeah. No. Which actually I told them about the show.
Yeah.
The show got brought up, and they knew it.
Nice.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, one of the
Do I
guys.
tell the host he's a jackass?
One of the guys pointed out. He said to my dad, "I see you don't carry a sidearm," and
You're like, oh God.
Yeah, right?
we're about to get
Why?
shot.
Yeah, maybe I am.
I see you're unarmed.
Right?
Whoa.
Which actually we were.
Nice.
But he said that
weird thing to
the
say.
point he was making was that
Bears.
Nope.
No?
Wolves.
Oh.
Here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He
UP
said
for sure.
he said that, and it's not even that far over the bridge.
Yeah.
And he told us a story about his wife and his daughter were out fishing, like the same we were, just out in the woods because they always hang out up there, and that his wife called him over and said, "Look at that!" And there was a wolf sitting in front of them in the woods, and it was just staring at them and sitting down. And then it would wait like a few minutes or so and take 5 steps closer and sit down.
Wow.
And then move closer and sit down. And he said, "Go to the truck and just go to the truck." And what I've known this for a little bit now is when you see a wolf, it's because they want you to see them. Because
Really?
what's happening, because
They're circling.
They hunt in a pack. So what's happening is you're watching that wolf to make sure it doesn't do anything. And what's happening is the other wolves are coming in around from behind you.
Smart.
Like
Yeah.
raptors.
Yeah, so
When you talked to this fella, did you get the tall tale feeling from him, or did you think
not
that-
at all.
No,
Not at all. He was like very serious.
doesn't
He's like,
happen.
if you're out here, you need to make and don't go hunting up here with dogs.
Oh, dogs
Oh,
will.
what was that story?
He just knows people, and I think one of the guys had lost a dog to wolves, and he
What
said
a way to go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
What a
He's had a couple encounters with wolves. He said he was hiking through the woods up there looking for a couple spots, and when he was on his way back down the trail, he saw in his footprints, wolf footprints. And so he turned around, went back the other way to test it to see if the wolf was still following, and then saw tracks again. And so it was following him everywhere he was going.
Wow.
I wonder. A part of me, the Disney part of me, was wondering if the wolf is getting fed fish by somebody, like sees him fishing, and they're like, "Oh, that guy might be giving up a meal,
Oh, okay.
cleaning
it's just
fish
a
and
cute
leaving a
nature
carcass."
pet.
I'd like to believe that.
That's a
I don't think that's it.
possibility,
Though. When I was up in
They could be ferocious.
northern Michigan, not the UP, there was one time I was coming in from a turkey hunt. First turkey hunt I went on alone up north by myself. And I remember it was in April, and it snowed in Michigan. God bless us, right? Yeah. It snowed in Michigan, and I was walking in, and it was nighttime, and it was dark, and I was using my phone. It was like 2%, so I was getting not a good flashlight out of it. So I'm like, I'm walking,
On fumes.
and I have
Starts flickering.
and I had and around me, I hear coyotes all around me. It was
Yeah.
it was over on the 40 where Jeffrey
me.
hunts.
Yep.
It was walking through AJ. It was walking through the pine tree trails that are on the 40 where you and Jeffrey shot that buck.
Okay.
When you guys filmed that buck, you know what I'm talking about on that property. It was on there, and I was walking down one of the rows, and I could hear them running all around me and stuff. I was like, "Is this for real?" Like I was like, "Is this how I go?" And nothing ever happened, and I only got to see a flash of one of them real quick. I saw the eyes as they bolted, but they were running around me. But
Figuring you out.
I think they figured out that I wasn't a deer or whatever they thought I might have been.
I think
and I've seen
coyotes
chase.
are too skittish to really.
I've seen coyotes chase deer there. I saw one big coyote trying to take down a doe. And I remember being so confused because the doe's coming in at this time. I had a doe tag, and it was like my 3rd year of deer hunting. So I'm, I don't know, 15, 16, something like that. It's walking towards me, and everything's good, but there's a hill between us. I'd have a piece of paper and show you, but but there's like a hill between us, so I can see her head walking towards me, but I can't see her body. And all of a sudden, she starts doing all these erratic movements where she's running, hopping, like looks like she's playing, and then going in a circle and flipping around and turning, and then doing this. And then, because the hill's long, I see a flash of a tail causing this ruckus. And it was probably a 120-pound, 110-pound doe, so maybe a 2.5, 3-year-old, 3.5, 2.5. And she was real upset about it. You know, she's actually fighting and doing maneuvers, and he's working her over pretty good. Whereas I thought there was only one. So it was 1-on-1, and I didn't think that necessarily. When you size it up, you're like, one coyote probably wouldn't go after a whole deer by itself, and especially one. It was. And the deer was going erratic, and I quickly switched to wanting to shoot the coyote instead of the deer. But I never got a clear path, and then they ended up in the woods and away from me, and I believe he gave up because I saw her trotting away and then could never find him again. And it was like starting to get dark and stuff like that at night, so that's why I never got a shot off.
You didn't hear any other movement, like maybe they were kind of around in trees, or
It was confusing how the movement was. The leaves on the ground were wet. So I was hearing some,
but
but not consistent.
muffled.
I was really hearing her being evasive, kicking up leaves, trying to do spins.
Serpentine.
Yeah. She got away though.
On that property behind us, they're always like, if you keep your window at nighttime, you can hear them.
Really?
Just start going. Yeah, doing that.
You hear them at Christy's house all the time.
Yeah.
I've seen them. They walk on her pond when it's frozen. As soon as it's frozen over, they walk on the pond. And I've never been able to get out there in time to shoot one, but I've attempted to several times.
One time we were out there running our dogs, and
Thanks, by the way.
I'm just kidding. Not her property.
But go ahead.
One of the dogs came running back, and then out of the woods, you see the coyote head pop up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think my
Java or
I
feel like
remember.
Lil would have gone after
I
it.
think my
Java
dad
would have come
threw
back.
a couple rounds at it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, bless his heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to know where those dens
It
are.
would have been
back
better
there.
if you used a gun instead of just.
I know. Those rocks.
But when we come back, Jeffrey is actually going to do a very, very special how-to segment. It's about how to clean a snapping turtle that we caught last week. Stay tuned.
No pressure.
Soap and bubbles.
You're a hunter, and because you hunt, you're the world's greatest conservationist. You're a huntervationist. You do more for wildlife and conservation than anyone. The Sportsman Alliance protects hunters from the animal rights movement. When the Sportsman Alliance gets involved in court cases or legislation, hunters win. Conservation wins. Become a huntervationist today and join the Sportsman Alliance like we did to help protect your rights against the animal rights movement.
Hot Shot Outfitters in Port Hope, Michigan is the destination for white-tailed deer, crow, waterfowl, rabbit, predator, and turkey hunts. We have cabins, over 30,000 non-fenced acres, and a passion for delivering fair chase hunts to you and your family. Reserve your hunt at hotshotoutfitters.com today.
When your hands are busy, your mind gets right. When your hands are busy, you can't point fingers and complain that life isn't fair. When your hands are busy, you're serving your family, your friends, and your community. When your hands are busy, you show everyone what you're capable of. The all-new Ram 1500, motor truck of the year.
Hello and welcome back to the Green Outdoors podcast. So this segment here is a how-to video and also a pretty good explanation. Not a video. It's a articulation while looking at pictures of how to clean a snapping turtle. So Jeff, I'll let you take over.
I like that you're hyping all this, and we haven't talked about it yet. Maybe it's terrible.
I bet it's terrible. You put
This
it together.
is a how not to.
If it ain't me, it ain't good. Here we go.
So one of the
I'm sure
first
this is going to be
things-
wrong in some way. Someone's going to listen. That's not how you do it.
Oh, you
So-
Oh, for sure.
Kyle and I went out and we caught a snapping turtle. 2 weekends ago now?
I dove for this thing.
It matters.
He dove for it. And so we caught
In the
it,
water?
brought it in. It was just the right size. Has to be 13 inches to keep, and it was exactly 13 inches.
To explain, a 13-inch carapace, which is a
Carapace.
big turtle. It's from front to back up the middle of just the shell, 13 inches, and that's
Just the shell?
just the shell. And the neck on this thing is a foot long in itself. You know,
I
They can
bet.
stretch.
It's
Yeah.
a neat word, carapace. Kyle learned it 2 weekends ago, and he's used it like 8 times ever since.
That happens.
It's okay.
Do you feel good about you?
Yeah, I feel great. Feel
How's
good
your
about
hair?
it.
Moving on.
So anyways, we catch this thing, we bring it in. The first thing that I find when you're going to clean the turtle is they say you have to keep it in clean water for a week to 2 weeks.
Told you.
Really?
Yeah.
You put it in the water, and then you have to dump it out every day and replace it with fresh new water. Now this picture here shows the
That recycle bin?
that's maybe the 4th or 5th day after he's been sitting in that water all day. So it's not horribly gross. It's not like mud, but it's also not, you know.
Slightly murky.
What is the idea behind soaking them?
It's just like the crayfish. They take the water in,
Purge.
They relieve themselves in the water, and it like helps to clean them out. Then you dump them out, put new water in the next day. Then they continue the process until they're clean on the inside. They're not
nice.
You know, you don't want to drink the water. But,
How many leeches fell off of this thing?
None.
Really?
Nope. I picked them off.
Oh, really?
And I got probably 30.
Are you serious?
I would say
They hide up under its legs inside.
The thing that got me was while I was cleaning the turtle, I'm like kneeling and doing stuff, and I had forgotten that as I'm picking out the leeches, I was putting them over here, and at one point I had like stepped and moved, and I looked down and I see tentacles just coming up out of the ground. I'm like,
Scary.
They're gross little creatures.
I don't like leeches.
No.
I don't.
No.
So you put him in this water. He purges himself out, cleans him out. Clean water. You do it for a week to 2 weeks. It's supposed
I did it for a week and 3 days.
supposed to help with the flavor until it goes clean.
Yeah.
And you don't feed them during that time.
Nope.
Not a pet.
They only eat every like day and a half, which watching a turtle in the wild, I understand because they're slow and they don't seem to understand how to actually grab food.
They're scavengers.
Unless it's your finger, then they know how to grab that.
They're scavengers, so they don't like quick moving stuff too often.
So it's not like, you know, it's not like you're horribly starving him.
Sure.
It's a little, you know, a little rough, which is why I wasn't going to go the full 2 weeks. I'm glad the water cleaned out after about a week. But
moving on.
So anyways, after the water cleans out, the first thing you do is you remove the head.
Okay.
Which kills it.
I love that.
So what you do is you take a stick. I had a broom handle. You put it in front. It grabs onto it, you know, with the quick bite, and then holds on. And then I took that, put it over a log.
The chopping block.
And then
were executioner.
took my axe, which I use for my chickens. And so it's sharp. I know it's done it before. It did take me two hacks. However, I know he was dead after the first one because I made it all the way through the vertebrae and all that stuff. It was just it was honestly the skin that was, I think, probably the hardest part to get through.
Did you wear the cool mask thing
Nice.
with the eyes cut out?
Nope. Nope. Got some stuff on my cheek. It was pretty gross.
Okay.
I stopped there and went and cleaned up. So that was gross. So after that,
Is that my sharpener in that picture? Do you have my sharpener?
That's a sharpener that comes with like every single knife that you buy of that particular brand.
I can't find mine. I think it's mine. Moving on.
So I don't clean turtles often, so I don't have a lot of the gear. And on top of that, someone that I live with has decided to utilize my cleaning table. So it's covered in bee spray and other
makeup,
other assorted garage stuff.
You
so
live
I was
with
like,
one person.
I'm not going to bother cleaning that up. I'm just going to do it on the
Make a new
floor on a
table.
piece of plywood. I don't have grips, which you're supposed to use to hold the feet so that it can hang down and let the blood drip out. So I used some Conibears.
Or the traps we were talking about.
Those things.
And then you got a knife. You want to make sure your knife is sharp. I learned that about halfway through. I'm like, God, this is taking forever. And then I found that sharpener, started sharpening. I'm like, this is easy. Why haven't I been doing this the whole time? The hardest part to get through, though, is the skin.
Okay.
For sure.
So what's in that step then, as far as doing that?
So in that step, you take off the head, and then you use your vice grips or Conabear or whatever to attach to the back legs.
Brutal.
And dangle the.
Well, he's got no head. He's dead. It's fine.
He's dead.
I know. It just is a.
It looks
and
rough.
you hang him so that the blood can come out.
Okay.
The heart continues to pump, actually.
For how long?
Well, I would say I got to the heart about 4 hours after I decapitated him because I would let him sit for a little bit, and it was still pumping.
Wow.
That's incredible.
So, cleaning mammals like we're used to,
They die instantly.
they die pretty quick. They're warm-blooded. The metabolism is really high.
So how
as
long would you recommend someone hanging a
dinosaur,
turtle
man.
based on that information then?
At least 4 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
His nerves were still running. It was still moving.
So warm-blooded animals, if you take off the head, you remove the brain, the
Brain.
Medulla.
the cell death, because of the way our bodies work, happens quick, and there's basically you die. Maybe a couple seconds up to like a minute of some nerves, but that's it. Cold-blooded animals, because they have such low metabolism, you cut off their head, and they can continue to move, and not just like little nerves, but like reflex movements.
Straight up fight you.
I had a duck jump and fly after it didn't have a head anymore.
That's like
Now-
when they say running around with a chicken with his head cut off.
It can't feel pain anymore. It's dead. It's just reflexes, but it
It's in that middle area.
It's it is a bit of a gray area that makes me a little uncomfortable.
So how long would you recommend, based on what you learned, how long should someone hang their turtle to bleed them after they cut the head off so that they don't have to experience the weird situation you had?
There's a day, 2 days, 3 days, I don't know.
Okay, we'll say 6 hours.
Warm.
6 to 8 hours.
It's warm outside, so I couldn't just let it hang, you know.
You say 6 hours at least, huh?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, possibly more. So anyways, first step is after you hang it up, then you take your really sharp knife and you go along the whole outside of the shell. Anywhere there's skin, you're separating the skin from the shell.
Okay.
Then from there, you take it and you pull it down. You can see all these little sinewy, membraney things.
Yeah.
And you take your sharp knife and you run it right where the skin meets the meat.
Okay. Well, looks like you're
And
pulling
it
the skin away there to show that.
separate, and then you do that. So you get all the way down to the fingernails, which they got huge fingernails, on all
Painted
4
them.
feet. And then from there, you remove the feet. So here you got the front left, and I've removed the foot. I removed all the skin.
For those of you listening to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, whatever else, you can actually see all this video content that we're explaining in these pictures. If you go to our YouTube channel, The Green Outdoors, you can also see this. So continue, Jeff.
It's one of the few unfortunate things where if you're just listening, you're missing out pretty
You're a
good.
loser.
Nice.
My man's got all the skin off his feet and legs now.
So after that, you remove any skin that you can from like the neck, the tail.
The neck, the back.
Yeah.
There's several cracks you can get into.
Got it.
So then, once you've removed all the skin and all 4 feet, I did 3 because I was hanging them from one of the feet. Once you have removed all the feet, then you can move on to actually separating the shell. From there, and this I thought was weird because my first thought was, how on earth are we going to get the shell off? Because that's like the hardest part, is
Right.
getting the shell off. But what you actually do is you take your knife. There's a really thin seam in between the bottom shell and the top shell, the plate and the carapace, I think it is.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Twice.
And you can actually see I've already removed it on the bottom of that picture, where you just take your knife and honestly you just cut through it. It's not hard.
Okay.
It just goes right through, and then that separates the bottom plate from the thing you think of when I say shell.
So that's not a shell. The bottom part.
It's 2 pieces.
So you're
It is a
you're
shell.
cutting off the bottom of the shell, like on his underside. You're separating.
His tool belt.
It's a pretty clear. It's
That's his fanny pack.
and it's a pretty clear line. All jokes aside, fanny pack wise,
Yeah.
it's a pretty distinct line on where that meets the shell.
Yeah, super easy.
Okay.
Then from there, kind of like when you were removing the skin, you do the same thing with that bottom plate where you just go in, run your knife along the bottom there until you remove all the meat.
Okay.
It comes right off.
Okay.
Clean separation.
So that's
and then,
that's that pulled off right there. Is that
yep.
bottom?
Then you got to bowl a turtle
Okay.
from there, because now you got the turtle hanging. You take him off, and you put him just on the ground or something. Because
And
at
does
that
that
point,
move us into step 3?
And at this point, you still haven't taken the guts out.
Okay, so there's your bowl of turtle. Now what's the next step?
Wow, it was looking desirable, and now it's not.
Looks like a stew.
From there, what you do is kind of similar to when we clean deer. I took my hatchet and put it up onto the pelvis
Okay.
and beat it to break the pelvis open. From there, you can get at all the joints in the hips.
Okay.
So you go in there with your knife, and it's honestly just separating anything that you can find in there. Don't cut the big bag that has the pee in it. Okay. Now, he's been in clean water for several days, so if you do, it's
Okay.
probably not the end of the world. But
Where is that bag in this picture?
it's inside the.
Okay.
It's in there still.
Okay, so now it looks like there's a piece pulled off of here in this picture.
Yeah,
So-
at that point, I've removed both the legs.
Okay,
So you go
the
in,
back legs.
You cut all the
Or are those
meat,
the front? Yeah, that's
you
the back.
cut all the meat around the joint after you've broken the pelvis open.
Okay.
Then you grab the leg and just twist, and it's a ball joint.
Okay.
So it just kind of separates after you twist once or twice around.
Okay.
Are the guts above the body? Like, are they up in the cavity of the shell?
So
Interesting.
that's strange because you would picture them being like on the bottom, like by the bottom carapace thing. But they're
Foreign
well protected.
guts are up in the shell. Makes sense from a protection standpoint.
Yeah.
Trunks in the front.
usually the business is in the front.
It's like a Porsche. Anyhow,
Yeah.
okay.
So from there, what you do then is you do basically the same thing with the other legs.
Okay.
So you just pull them aside, you pull your knife out, you separate down to the joint, twist 2 or 3 times around, leg comes off. There's a couple ligaments and things that you got to cut through that I noticed in the front that maybe I just couldn't see in the back, but it seemed like the front legs were a little harder to get off.
Okay.
But once you do that, then you take the whole thing, put it over a bucket, and then just scrape.
Okay.
I didn't take a picture of that. But all of the guts and everything is just attached to the top of the shell.
Okay.
By like a thin membrane, so you go in and you kind of dig at it.
And you just pull
use your
those
knife
guts
in
off.
some bits, and then they just kind of fall off.
Okay.
The only thing you have to do is
And you just cast those away. They're not in this
Yes.
picture.
You do have to separate them from the tail.
Okay.
Which isn't bad because, again, you've kind of purged the turtle out already. But once you do that, then you can separate the tail and the neck, which isn't really that hard either. It's just going and scraping your knife underneath the neck and the tail at the shell. And then once you do that, similar, it's a little harder because at that point you're dealing with neck that is attached to the shell, so you have to get through the vertebrae and all that stuff. But you twist that until that breaks and you can feel it. And as long as you've cut away all the ligaments and everything, then you can just separate the neck, the tail, and then at that point you get the back straps.
Is that what that? See, they look like back straps because they have the tender, or it really is like a tenderloin almost because it looks.
Yeah.
It's on the inside of the spine, so it'd be the tenderloin. But it looks like it's got that same. If you pulled those tenderloins off of a turkey, it would be identical to that. The white meat that I'm seeing there.
Yeah, the top right of all the meat, that is the tenderloins, the back strap, whatever you want to call
Okay,
it.
I was going to ask where those.
Yeah,
came
it looks
from.
like the
other-
tenderloins you find in a turkey.
The
Identical.
other bit of white meat that's in the middle there,
Yeah.
that's the neck.
I was
The neck
look.
is
It
all
looked like
white meat.
fat. That was white meat.
Yeah. Which, when I first cut it open, I was like, oh, well, that's disappointing. You would think the neck would have so much muscle in it, but I thought it was fat when I first cut it open. And I'm like, oh, that's nice looking meat. Okay.
Okay.
So you get your 2 legs, the 2 back legs, 2 front legs, the neck, the tail, and the tenderloin.
Tenderloins.
The tenderloin's weird though because so you can see in there, you see the what we'll call the spine. There's the ribs that come off that fuse with the shell. You have to cut through those. So the only tool that I used that wasn't on here was snippers.
Okay.
And you got to snip through the ribs and then break those off, and then the meat is underneath that.
The crazy species.
The worst part about this whole process was that
You were the whole
the
time.
nerves, every single muscle fought me the entire time.
What?
Meaning?
So like I said, it doesn't die. They keep going with the nerves. It's like a reflex. Like if you were to, say you had something sharp behind your hand and something hot in front of your hand. If you touch the hot thing, even though if you back up real quick, you're going to stab your hand, you'd still do it because of the reflex of, ooh, that's hot. Mm-hmm. Well, it's like
That's a good way
that.
of putting it.
It's exactly like that, but without the brain. You're not alive anymore, but that reflex is still there. And because they have such low metabolism, it just keeps happening for a long time.
I wonder if after you beheaded it, if you stuck it in the fridge or freezer for a little bit, how much that would help.
You're trying to drain the blood out, though.
It would slow it down.
Yeah.
But that would, I think, preserve it longer.
I agree.
Well, I'm not saying as far as preservation. I'm just saying as far as fighting a
No,
dead animal.
he's saying it would preserve the fight
ability.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because you're, again, slowing down the metabolism, so it's going to be even longer that it would then take.
There's something with that
Well,
that
it wouldn't
can
be able
have.
to fight as much, is what I'm saying.
True.
Because it's like when you pick up a frog. If you happen to find a frog in like late fall, it's gonna it's slow.
If you cleaned the turtle in a deep freeze, in like a walk-in cooler, then it would probably be better, I would assume.
Okay.
But
Who has that?
So while I'm removing the skin off the one leg, the other leg is going, stop it.
Oh, man.
No.
That's weird.
It is bizarre. The tail is like, I'm going to be over here, so I'm in your way. I'd be like, no. And he'd go,
That is nutty.
No, seriously, stop it.
Seriously, stop.
I removed the tenderloins off the back there, and as I was cutting them, now at this point, there's no heart, there's no anything, and the tenderloin muscles are still going and contracting every time I cut.
It's incredible.
Weird.
That's nutty.
Which at that point, you know it's dead. You know there's
nothing.
isn't
There's
even a
nothing to
blood
be
supply.
alive.
There's no nerves anymore. It's just, So that was a little, just because I'm used to cleaning mammals, so
Right.
they're dead. Once they're dead, they're dead.
Once it's done, it's done.
But
Yeah.
this was a very
At what
unique
point?
experience.
At
for
what
me.
point in the experience were you like, "This is meat," instead of like, "That's a gross turtle we named Franklin"?
After the tenderloin stopped moving.
That's when it was meat.
dude.
Yeah.
It's a long way in the process
Yeah, it
before it
is.
was meat for you.
That's a couple hours in.
It all moved
How long did it take
the
you?
whole time. I stopped several times because I got frustrated.
Based on how he skinned that coyote, it's 3
I
days.
would say I would say the actual time that I spent cleaning it probably maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it?
Wow. I was gonna guess 10.
If I attempted again, I could probably do it, and I would say maybe half hour, 45 minutes. Now that I know my way around the inside,
Right.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, it was rough. I didn't cry. You're crying.
You cried.
What part of it? I've heard that all the different parts of the turtle taste different, and looking at the meat and the wide variety of looks of meat, I can definitely believe that.
Yeah.
Nothing about that even looks like it all came from the same critter.
I've heard that also, that it's very particular the way you prepare the different cuts. How do you think you're going to
Shotgun tenderloins.
do it?
No, I
a
cleaned it,
You are going to do a soup?
Yeah. Now, okay, so
but not with the tenderloins. I want to cook those
your
separate.
favorite restaurant,
Okay.
which is Olga's,
Okay.
yeah, makes a soup. It's called
Texas Roadhouse.
Peasant
Oga's the
soup.
second.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's called peasant soup. And I had somebody come up to me and go, "Oh, you should make the turtle soup that they make at Olga's." And I guess someone
What?
there told them that it was turtle in the soup.
It's probably my
But
dad messing
honestly,
with someone.
The soup looks really good, and I think I'm going to attempt to get
Trademark
inspiration from their soup,
Yeah.
and then kind of make my own. Because I don't know exactly how they make it.
I'd
so.
like to try just fry it up and
Yeah.
just try it
Like
I wanna-
just
I wanna-
how it is.
You do,
I think we
if
make the
you-
tenderloins that way.
Yes, I agree.
What you would need to do is you parboil it. So you boil it on low for like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes to actually cook the meat. And then you use, then you can batter it and deep fry it if you want. But you don't have to deep fry it to cook the meat. You just deep fry it to cook the
I don't even want to deep
outer
fry. I just want
part.
to try it as
What it is.
as what it is as possible, just to know.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be doing that in our studio kitchen here. We have some segments that we're going to be filming for season 4 of the Greenway Outdoors that will be coming to you in January, and we'll be cooking up some turtle in a segment on there and creating cooking videos and other how-to videos as well, so that we can eventually be your encyclopedia for how-to videos. And we'll probably catch another snapping turtle and show a video tutorial too. Now that we kind of got our hands around what it is.
I'm glad we
It'll be
didn't
much
do a
shorter
video
than
of
an
this
hour
one.
and a
Again, if you are listening to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and you're still on this, still listening, God bless you. You must really love our jokes because you weren't able to see the tutorial of that turtle. But if you go to our YouTube page, you can, The Greenway Outdoors, or you can check us out live on NRM Streamcast. It's an application that can be found on everything from Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, Google Chromecast, and basically any other provider you can think of. NRM Streamcast. You can check us out there live, 6 p.m. on Thursday night Eastern Standard Time. Or, like I said, if you're looking for it on demand, or all of our old episodes, check us out on our YouTube page, The Greenway Outdoors. Also, go on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We'd love to hear from you on episodes you'd like to see. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay green.